thought I'd share with you a little bit of my story. I'm from a town in northern Oklahoma, one of the most patriotic parts of the country, in Ponca City, Oklahoma. And grew up there in that environment there. And one event that made a big difference in my life was the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And when he died, of course, civil rights was not a big thing in our town, but they did a lot of things about his life. And it really hit me for the first time that being a Christian means more than saying your prayers and trying to quit sinning and get yourself in heaven. But rather it means doing something to build the kingdom of God here and now. And if we've not aligned ourselves with the kingdom of God here, how do we expect to share in the kingdom of God there? And so that started me, I was an 8th grader, really trying to think about, well, what should I be doing to make the world a better place? And at the time, the Vietnamese War was going on, and I became very active. It was obvious to me that that was an unjust war, and I became very active in my high school in the anti-war efforts in the high school. In fact, when I was a high school senior, they instituted ROTC for the first time in our high school, and so I was one of the organizers of the Black Armband campaign. We all had to go to the ceremony, so we all wore black armbands and had it. Interestingly, the Knights of Columbus gave me their citizenship award that year. But also, of course, you know, when you turn 18, you have to register for the draft. Turn 16. 18. You have to register for the draft. And so, and I had already done plenty of research and realized that, you know, the teaching of the church, certainly myself, that I was a selective conscience objector. That I wasn't ready to exclude all possibility of ever, you know, you can imagine a war that would be just, but the Vietnamese War wasn't. And so I knew that I would not be able to serve in that war. But I also learned that our system does not provide for any way for you to register as a selective conscience objector. It's either all or none. Okay? And given that option, I knew that the war, any war that I could conceive of our country getting involved in my lifetime would be one that I would not be able to fight in. So when I filed for the, registered for the draft, I registered as a conscience objector. And I was actually turned out to be very fortunate. You know, I think it's 1H, they register you all as 1H. So I didn't have to defend it at that time. In our area, you know, no one ever got to see it. You had to defend it in court, you know, if you were going to defend that. But I was very fortunate because my lottery number was 362. And doubly so because my year was the first year that no one was drafted. It was in 1972, was when I graduated from high school. 71 was the last year that they drafted anybody. So actually I was a conscious objector because I said I was, but I never was recognized as such by the government because I was always a 1H as far as they were concerned. However, during the period between when I had registered for the draft and when I got my 362 number, I had looked into options, and you know, I knew that Canada would be far too cold for me, and Mexico, which would be very appealing in a lot of ways, but they had an extradition treaty, so draft dodgers. So I checked out New Zealand, and that would put me far enough away from my parents. But that was a joke. Anyway. But that was just a brief thing. But what I did was I checked out. I definitely was not going to go fight. And so what were my other options? And so I checked that out. But anyway, and then I went to the University of Oklahoma and was involved in the anti-war rallies and things that we had there at the University of Oklahoma. But that's the extent of my involvement. You know, I claim to be a conscious objector in that way. However, in a larger sense, you know, objecting to war is not a negative. It's not like what I'm not willing to do, but rather it's rather an orientation to the kind of world that the Lord calls us to build. It's a positive thing, and this is one of the things that's not part of, that can't be part of that. And so, of course, this is part of the whole process that led to me discern a vocation to the priesthood. And well, what positively can I do, if this is things I must not do, what positively can I do to build the kingdom of God? And that has marked that building peace, opting for the poor. What can we do to make a world that is a more just world, since war is rooted in injustice? And so many of the other things that have marked my ministry, engagement for immigrants, death penalty, things like that. When the first Desert Storm came, I gave a very strong homily about that was an unjust war, didn't meet any of the criteria for a just war, and that was not well received. That was what needed to be said. And so that's kind of marked my ministry ever since. That's pretty much all I had to say, other than I would refer to the fact that we've got the Syrian refugees, and 20 some odd states have said no, and my state, of course, is one of those. And so I issued through my Catholic Charities person a statement saying we will accept them and all that, and we've gotten threats to our refugee services in Arkansas. So that's just part of the picture there. So that's me as being conscious objective.
I think I can speak on behalf of all of us when I say to our speakers, thank you for the privilege of having listened to your stories and to Joshua's stories. It was beautiful, and it was a privilege, and thank you very much. I'm sure it's been a long day for a lot of people, but maybe for the next 10-15 minutes, and then we'll bring the evening to a close, and there will be an opportunity for informal discussion if people would like that. But the whole point of this peace dinner is to create dialogue and an opportunity to encounter one another. We've begun that with our speakers, but maybe again with our limited time. I'll invite some people just for 2 or 3 minutes just to give a brief comment or reflection on the theme of war, peace, and Christian conscience formation, or response to what you've heard this evening. And I'll kind of alternate it, again, since it's supposed to be a dialogue between people involved in the peace movement and some of our bishops who are here. So if you'd like to speak, just give me a nod. I've asked 1 or 2 people to begin. So I'd invite Martha Hennessy if she'd like to make a comment. I mean, if you just say your name and the organisation you're with.